Good evening and welcome to BISTRO Season 3 Conversations with Sutapa Basu, which is the live talk show hosted on my Facebook page, facebook.com/SUTAPABSU20. BISTRO is all about buzzing. So we can talk about art, about culture, about entertainment, sometimes books, sometimes poetry, or just random reflections. Basically, it's a conversation between you and me. Bistrobus also hosts a lot of live chat shows with inspiring people who are experts in their fields of knowledge and give us a lot of food for thought. So the table at Bistro Bus is always heaped with fine cuisine. You are welcome to walk in and listen to it, speak about it, even argue about it if you want to, or just enjoy it. So look out for Bistro Buzz most evenings at 6 p.m. And now, let's welcome our next guest on Bistro Buzz Season 3, the Cinnamon Man. So here is Vikas Prakash Joshi. Welcome to Bistro Buzz, Vikas.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sutapa, for having me. A wonderful opportunity to be part of the Bistro Buzz on this evening. Very
We are
happy to be
very
here.
excited to host you, absolutely. And let's first talk about you to our viewers. So, Vikas Prakash Joshi is an award winning writer, editor, translator, podcaster, public speaker, novelist, and an amateur cook. He lives in Pune, India. His first book for children, My Name is Cinnamon, this is the book, you can see it, was published by Hay House India and in November 2022 and has been lauded all over the world in over 30 plus countries and endorsed by many top writers and has received 8 publishing offers. Story Inc., a Mumbai based production company, has also acquired the book for a screen adaptation. And this book has been illustrated by the award winning illustrator for children's books, Nilofer Vadia. Vikas has been part of several prestigious literary festivals like Pune International Literary Festival, G Literacy Festival, Indore, which was organized by the Valley of Words, Bukuru Children's Festival at Vadodara. My Name is Cinnamon is now in its second print run. Imagine, just a year ago it was printed. My Name is Cinnamon has received and has been nominated for 12 prestigious recognitions so far, including the A3 Literary Award for Fiction 2023, Asian Literary Society Award for Best Debut Fiction, Asian Literary Society Award, Society Certificate for Excellence in Fiction, Skipping Stones Magazine USA Honor List for International Books 2023, shortlisted for the Value of Words Awards for Young Adult Fiction 2023, longlisted for the second Vinod Kanodia Award for Children's Books 2023 and the FICCI Award for Children's Books 2023, above 10 plus years. It was also chosen among the 60 selected books by Indian authors for kids and YA by the Hyderabad-based Beyond the Box organization, an organization that is working for in the field of literature, and talks are on for translation into other languages. Wonderful, I think, for a debut book. Beautiful. His articles and
Thank
book
you.
experts and short stories have been translated into 30 languages, both foreign and Indian languages, and in offline and online publications in 24 countries. Vikas, what can I say? I mean, congratulations multiple times over.
Thank you.
Love it. So, shall we start?
Yes, by all means.
So we know that you are an award-winning author and you're a voracious reader. You even read the newspaper in which your Bhelpuri is backed. But who really is Vikas Joshi? Tell us something about your growing up years and your family.
Hi. So, you very rightly observed reading the newspaper on which the Bhulpur is written in. I don't know if you'll recall, at one time, maybe when this hygiene standards was not so much, not just Bhelpuri, but everything used to be wrapped in a newspaper,
Yes,
if you
yes,
recall.
absolutely.
Mhm.
I mean, and that
And
was the most, what should I say, pollution free and, saving on plastic.
absolutely, absolutely. And I had this habit from a young age that I would like to read everything, like even things which people don't even notice. Like when I'd go to say a tourist spot, most people would just see the like the scenery or the sights. But I would always love to see things which, for example, like boards,
Yeah.
signboards.
Okay.
I'm a bit of a freak about signboards, or shop signboards, or
Hmm.
small things. Like if I'd go to some restaurant and I tried to read everything. And I was I had one peculiarity which I've kind of toned down a bit now, is that I was very particular about grammar. So like when I'd go to a restaurant, and we've seen a lot of restaurants, you may have seen it, they're very casual about grammar.
Absolutely.
Chilled beer becomes child bear,
Yes.
noodles becomes noodles,
Yes.
so I would always tell them that, please change this. And then my parents would tell me that, look, this is a restaurant, we have to eat food. This is not a place to always
Correct.
correct spelling.
I can
you
just
know
imagine. So where have you? I mean, have you always been in Pune?
no, actually, I'll tell you. I am born into a family where my father was and is actually a writer. He
Hmm.
also wrote several books on
Okay.
spirituality and religion and Hindu faith and so on. His name is Dr. Prakash Vinayak Joshi. And my mom was a homemaker who later on became a teacher of French and also of English on
Oh,
many occasions. Yes, yes.
okay.
So you can say that both my father and mother are both into books and to reading and writing. So from young
Yeah.
age, there's a lot of exposure to reading and to writing and to literature. And I grew up partly in Pune, partly in Delhi, and also some years abroad. So I would say it was like all these influences.
Okay. So all these influences have come together in your writing. I mean, I'm sure.
Right.
And what I've read of your book, definitely it is there. The influences are quite visible. Now, you
Right.
call yourself a natural writer. You just told us about how you're literally a compulsive reader. But how did you discover that you're a natural writer?
I'll tell you. There's a nice story about it. I had a teacher
Mm-hmm.
who is mentioned in the dedication of the book
Uh-huh.
called Mrs. Kelly McDeasy. In the dedication page of the book, you would have observed it.
Yes, yes, I've seen
And
it.
yes, yes. And one fine day it happened. I think I was in standard five, I think. And I was kind of getting bored with the English class, because I think you can relate to this also, is when you're a person who reads a lot as a child, you intuitively pick up a lot of things which that the language is one of those things which, unless you're reading, writing and speaking, it remains at a very theoretical level. You need to
Hmm.
be using the language.
Absolutely.
You can read about this past principle and present participle and future participle, and it's sort of like, just okay, I mean, what is all this, but because I was reading a lot, I could sort of intuitively guess most of the things. And as a teacher, they were teaching about past, present and future. you know
Right.
uh, he
Hmm.
went and he goes and he had gone, something like that.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then you had to fill in the blanks. I remember that even. You had to fill in the blanks, and then the teacher would come and check, whether you've done it or not. And I had just filled it in, because when you read a lot, you kind of intuitively pick up a lot of grammar rules. That's my
Absolutely.
observation. And my teacher, Miss Kelly McDeasy, who was an American woman, she saw that I was writing like a lot more than was necessary. So she got a little sort of curious, because after the fill in the blanks, you were supposed to write like a one para, just a short essay, standard five ka bacha hai, one or two
Hmm.
para essay on in which you use all these three: the past,
Hmm.
the present, and the future.
And
And it is about, imagine that you are a coin. One of those nice essays which you had as a child, right? Imagine you're a coin, imagine you're a prime minister. So I was writing very, very curiously, like way more than necessary. And she came and said, okay. And then she just picked up my notebook and then she looked at it. And then she didn't say anything, like nothing. And she just politely handed it back to me. Okay, Vikas. Okay. No, that's it. After the class was over, she called me. She said, when it's written, write two paras. Write two paras. Don't write five. But she said, you have a spark of being a writer. I still remember you have the spark of being a writer, because she said the story is okay. There are spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, galore. That's okay. You will learn that as you learn English. But the spark of writing the story, it's there in you. I can see it. And I really expected that she'd admonish me, she'd scold me, because actually, we were supposed to not write. That is, I was writing an essay on a topic totally different from what had been recommended to us. Because I didn't like that topic, so I just wrote my own topic. You know,
okay.
but and so she said that's not correct, but you have the spark. I still remember. Keep it up. When you are in class, pay attention. Outside class, I will give you books of the higher standards. I will give you books of the you know other grades. I'll give you other books to read, and I want you to keep it up. I want you to stay motivated. And I would say that, since you asked me being a natural writer, that incident stays in my mind, because after finishing the exercises, we had got a topic, but मुझे उस topic पे नहीं लिखना था. अपने मन से what topic came to my mind, I wrote on that. And I remember she, instead of scolding me, she was like, okay, keep it up.
She, instead of scolding you, she inspired you basically that
Yes,
you
you
should
can say
write more and you should write. Lovely. Excellent. And I think that is what teachers are for. And that's why they remain in our memories, for so long. I just want to a small comment to all the viewers. Please come on to the show and put your comments in, and or your questions to Vikas, and we will answer your questions. So do come onto the, because I can see people are coming in. Sunita Chaudhary, Ruchita Chaudhary. So please come on and put your comments or your questions to Vikas, and we will answer them. Okay. So your debut book is called My Name is Cinnamon. So,
right.
how did you put together this title? I mean, and why cinnamon? It could have been cardamom. Why cinnamon?
Yeah. That's a very good question, Sutapa. This title of a story is a very, as you're a published author, it's a very tricky thing,
Yes.
because the author has one idea, the publisher has one idea, and
True.
somebody else has a third idea. You can say that the title is like the Jan, it's like the life of the book, you know,
Yeah.
um, Tale of Two Cities. So now in this book, what happened is, long back, when I submitted the first draft, the publisher asked me, suggest a few titles. So I suggested various ones, but somehow we were not gelling. And then he said, okay, at that time, he just said, look, um, when you start publishing the book, the title is just provisional. Give me
Hmm.
a provisional. So I played around with various things, Cinnamon story, Roshan story, Dawn at Ratnapura, this, that. Finally, I went with My Name is Cinnamon. I think a provisional. Let's stopgap ke liye, we'll put this. But when I suggested it, they were initially like, okay, let's keep this. Let's keep it. Don't change it. And I said, this is only a stopgap. We need to have a really good title. He said, no, this is it. Don't change this. And I didn't initially like this title. So I said, no, we must ask other people. So I asked so many people, and they were all like, keep this title. Don't take it. So, that's very remarkable that a title which I wanted to be a stopgap ended up being everybody's favorite choice. So that's the
And I
interesting
think,
thing.
right, Vikas, your title is really something that the moment you hear the title, You are intrigued. You want to know what is this book about, you know. So yes, absolutely, it's an excellent title, in fact. Now,
Thank you.
the theme of your book uh, is about the world of an adopted child, which is a very sensitive topic. So, why did you choose this topic? What was the reason you chose this topic?
Okay. Adoption, Sutapa, is something which is not unfamiliar to us, because as Indians, we are aware about stories of Krishna. We are
Hmm.
all aware about this Karna story. And through
Yes.
our mythology, adoption is regarded as something which is sort of maybe not the norm, but at the same time not unusual, you know. And I'm also happy to tell you that state which you are from, West Bengal, and state where I am in, Maharashtra, these two states have very strong tradition of adoption since a long time. That's what I came to know when I did the reading. One of the oldest adoption agencies in India is in West Bengal, Atmaja, you know. So I really became interested in adoption because I realized that a lot of mythological literature is there, but there is very little literature about the today India and what is the scenario for adoption today's India as told from a child's perspective. You know, like when you see Bollywood movies, when you see them, sometimes they have this very negative kind of stereotype. The, you know, the mother is very cruel. She's, you know, that stepmother. She ignores the children, and then they feel neglected, and then they're ignored. Which, when I actually dealt with adopted children, I realized that, you know, in a lot of cases it's not quite that straightforward. That is, it isn't that straightforward that the child feels neglected, that's why he wants to meet. It's not quite like that. You said there are deeper impulses which drive the child to behave in a certain way, and those are there irrespective of how happy the child's childhood is, you know. And I realized that this needs to be captured. You know, when we talk of adoption, when I would talk to other people, I would notice they always saw it either as mythology or as some Bollywood kind of scenario where the child overhears the parents talking, and then he comes to know that, oh, you know, I was adopted. You know, that's not healthy. You know, you shouldn't come to know about it in a surreptitious way, right? Your parents should be upfront with you. So I felt that this must be captured in a book, because I feel the time has now come for us as Indians to tell our own stories to ourselves. You know, we need to do that. We need stories about our own realities, and I think this is my very small contribution to that endeavor.
I don't think it's a small contribution, Vikas, because that was one of the things which really hit me. You know, that uh, number one, the adopted child knows from a very early age that he or she is adopted, and that the fact that his adopted parents have chosen him is a matter of celebration, is what makes him special. I love that part of it. And of course, you have very beautifully brought in our age old heritage that we have, you know, of Krishna being adopted or Karna being adopted. So it's all there in our mythology, in our epics. So why not, take the child back to that and tell him that you are just like that? Nothing. I mean, there's nothing wrong in being adopted. In fact, it makes you more special. So I love that part of it. And because thank you so much for bringing it in, because you are absolutely right that whether it's Bollywood or whatever it is, you have a very people have a very wrong kind of notion about how
Right.
adopted children feel. And as you just said, that you must have spoken to a lot of adopted children, and that is where you came to know the mind of an adopted person. That it's not necessarily that the person is ill treated or unhappy, and that is why the person goes in search of their biological parents. There are many more reasons to do that. Beautiful. Your book really brings that out. Now, I can understand that you've done a lot of research. So, what I wanted to ask you is that you must have discovered many things when you were researching, and a lot of it has gone into your book. But is there something unusual or unique that you discovered during your research which you have not included in the book? And if there is something, can we know about it?
Jyoti, you know, when you write a book, it's very apt to say that it's a bit like how can I say it, cooking something very apt, because food plays a major role in this book, that you end up leaving a lot of food out to finally make that finished dish, so many of
Right.
your things,
Hmm.
and one of the things I'd observe when I talk to a lot of adoptive children is that a lot of adoptive children have curiosity not just about um, their origins, but they have like deeper questions, and in a children's book, there's a limit. You have to be careful how deep you want to go, you know uh, but one very striking thing which I really observed is, one of the things I always felt is, a child notices the differences between their parents' face and their face. But when I actually spoke to a lot of adoptive parents and their children, the thing which a lot of them would say is, even birth parents and their children sometimes don't look necessarily very alike. Not at
Very
all.
true. Very true.
There are birth parents and their children who you would wonder that, okay, what's their relation? They look that different. They look that different. So I said that then, that when you say, because this particular girl looks totally different from her mother, like totally different. The mother is um, more on the shorter side, this girl is tall, girl is fairer, this mother is a bit darker. And I said that, yet she would very confidently tell me, मैं एकदम मेरी माँ जैसी दिखती. And I would hear this from many of them. Oh, I look just like my parents. What is the issue? Then I understood after a while, what they were referring to is not looks, but your facial expressions, the way you use your hands when you talk, the way you sit, the way you stand. Subtly, parents influence children in many ways which go beyond just the face. The mannerisms. There are times where you may have seen it yourself, that, oh, you're just like your mother, you're just
Yes.
like your father. How, not looks, but other things. So that's one thing which really struck me, that when he says, I look just like my dad, so nobody felt anything, he didn't mean looks, he meant personality features. And that's something which I didn't include in the book, but this is something which really was very memorable to me, that so many parents said, when I asked them that, did you observe this thing in the early years, people would come up and ask us that your daughter is so different from you, kaise, is she adopted, they would ask. But as she got older, with continuous exposure to a certain person, you sort of, that person's influence are absorbed on you, right? And they said that our children now unconsciously they mimic a lot of things we do without realizing it. So this is one thing which was there. And the second thing which was there is that, in certain subtle ways, which I couldn't include in the book, the children's talents sometimes for some things, I mean, I included it to a point but not beyond a point, they have unexplained talents. Something like, okay, the father and mother are good at XYZ, but the children are good at something totally different, and it's not something which can be explained by coaching or something. It's something sort of uh, inexplicable, if you know
Yeah.
what I mean. It's not that the child is here.
Yeah. So what you just said about personality traits is, you will often find that children start speaking in the style that their parents speak, because they are actually mimicking their parents unconsciously, using words or using ideas. So that is how
Right.
I think, even if the child is adopted, he just picks up on the environment that is around him, and starts
Right.
becoming like that. You are absolutely correct about that. So lovely to know these two, because these are some things that very few people know about. So thank you so much for telling us about this. Now you brought up food, right? So let me ask you. You say you're an amateur cook. Can you give us a very simple recipe that all of us can make?
A simple recipe, I would say that simple homemade chicken curry
Okay,
with potatoes. Uh,
lovely.
I think that's the best thing. When I was in college days, um, uh, I don't know if you have studied in a hostel, or you have studied in
I have in a
like
hostel.
your home, or you are studying from home.
No, I've studied in a hostel, especially
Yes,
during my
yes. So
college.
you know very well that what happens to the hostelitis, hostel fooditis. Uh,
Absolutely.
you know? So And one big problem is that we were all not in hostel, but we were in being PG, like a paying guest, which
Mhm.
is practically like a hostel in some respects.
Right.
And we had a problem that we couldn't, you can't get all kinds of fancy ingredients. You have small. So what we would do is, and everybody is hungry. They wanted to eat chicken like, very quickly. So one thing I had observed is that if you have chicken, if you have potatoes, you have a lot of onions. What is a shortcut to take good taste? So I would ask the lady who used to cook, that what is a shortcut to good taste? We are students, our budgets are small, we cannot buy all these fancy ingredients, we don't have that many utensils. What do we do? Saying shortcut to good taste is lots of onions. You must have a lot of onions. If you have a lot of onions, it will taste good. So I would definitely say simple homemade chicken curry with potatoes, lot of onions, marinated only for 1 hour, and put everything at one go. I think you will, especially if you're hungry, put everything at one go. No need to delay, and within 1 hour at max, you'll be ready, and you can have that with rice or with roti or whatever. I that was especially on some days when the hostel food was you couldn't eat it. But this
I
was
know.
really a lifesaver.
Lovely. Thank you so much. I think all of us are going to try this out. You know,
Yes.
easy,
In fact,
fast of making chicken curry. Very good. And
when I saw
okay,
your profile, I noticed you have studied in various places. So I'm sure you have gone through these challenges.
yes, yes, yes. So your book was published a year ago, right? And it is being read in 24 or more countries right now. I think all our viewers would be interested in how did you accomplish this within a year?
Yeah. So basically, I'll tell you how, I'll give you a tip or a gist of how this is. That, what I did when uh, long back actually, and in fact, I'll sort of keep a long story short. There used to be this World Book Fair Delhi,
Yes.
which yes, and there used to be these wonderful folk tales of different countries,
Hmm.
which my parents would always buy for me. And I would remember World Book Fair Delhi because it would वो हमेशा January or February में होता है, you know.
Yes.
So that with this hot tea and softy ice cream and moongfali and these kind of things, my parents would always buy me these small, small folk tales, very affordable. Turkey,
Hmm.
Germany, and Lebanon, various countries. And every year they would keep buying me a few. And I read whatever they shared with me. And when I wrote the book, I thought, these are the folk tales of the stories which I read from various countries. And what I could remember, which countries I could remember: Iran, Lebanon, Germany. Then there was, I think, Russia. Russia was definitely there. I remember a lot of
We all,
Russian books.
yes, Russian
Yeah.
stories.
Russian stories were a big hit at that
Hmm.
time.
Yes.
And then there were stories from, I think, Spain, different places. Poland,
Hmm.
especially, also I remember. So I thought I must go back to those countries because those folktales and those stories inspired me. So now I must go and reach out to people in those countries. So it was
Right.
quite. I reached out to them at that time and I wrote my book. It was a manuscript, and
Hmm.
then I reached out to some of them, and some of them were pretty friendly. They were very welcoming. I mean, I was worried that they would wonder that who is this unknown person, and he wants me to read his book and give my endorsement. I mean, who are you
Hmm.
anyway? But very few people responded like that, like very very few, and even the few who did later on. We I handled it reasonably well, and they were very helpful, and that is also what gave me the confidence because Shutapa at that time the publishing industry was in total chaos because of this
Hmm.
constantly changing rules. Your bookstores
Hmm.
can be open, can't be
Hmm.
open 9 to 11, then 11 to 2. It is really bad.
Hmm.
The nobody, the manuscripts are not being accepted. It is like Armageddon. It is,
I,
and so many people's endorsements give me a lot of confidence that these are people from all non-Indian backgrounds and they also enjoy my book. What more do I want? And then when I reached out to them again after it is published, then I shared the book with them, and they in turn, in many cases, informed other people, who they knew in different places that we like this book, we enjoyed it. You also, you take a look, and the book was already available on eBay, still available, and it is a sort of mix of both these things. One is right at the beginning, before the book was published, when I was still looking for a publisher, I was feeling a bit low in confidence, that because my book is a very Indian book, and I was not sure that how is somebody in Bulgaria or in Poland or Lebanon or Madagascar going to like my book. I thought stories are universal. So why we are all human beings end of the day, right? And then when I so I wrote the book right at the beginning and then towards the end. That's how it came about.
In fact, your theme is completely universal. It is something
Mm.
that every country people would want to read, and that I suppose is the reason. But that is something I think all of us are learning from you, because that this is a way also to make your book popular, to take your book out, not just in India but out of India. And you say that your book is very Indian, but um, it's also, like I said, it's universal, but it's all there is something in that book, there's a warmth in that book that comes through immediately, and that I think is what has touched the hearts of so many readers who have read it. Now, uh, debuts of a lot of authors usually have autobiographical elements in them. So is there a you in My Name is Cinnamon, and what is the you in it?
You know, this is a very good question because definitely there is a lot of you. I will leave it to the reader to guess how much, but that I will not comment on. But I will say that many of the incidents, especially the very humorous incident where the boy pretends to be sick or pretends to have stomachache to avoid the
Yes.
the maths class. I'm going to take you, Shutapa, a little bit down, and not just you, but even the viewers, little bit
Hmm.
down the memory lane. That in
Hmm.
Delhi, you will recall there was a time, early morning the buses would come to take the children to school in the winter, and at that
Yes.
time there was no Uber, no Ola, there was no bus service early in the morning, only auto
Right.
rickshaws, nothing else,
Okay.
and early in the morning the bus would come, and the worst thing is when you have to go to school on a cold winter morning, and maths was something I never liked, and maths was the first period, so it was like in the cold winter morning you just want to have a cup of tea or cup of milk. You don't want to get out of bed. Razai hota hai na, that
I
thick
know.
blanket,
I know.
Jaipuri razai.
I can totally relate. I can totally relate to this.
you know
And if you had
so
to
you have
go, and
to
then if you had to go in an auto rickshaw to school, you can
school.
imagine you'd be frozen. Absolutely. By the
Frozen.
time you.
So my mom would take me to the bus. The bus would come. These big buses would come, yellow buses.
Yes, I
And then I would say, oh, I'm having a upset stomach. And then my mom would take me to the bathroom, and our apartment was like 4 or 5 stories up, so the
know.
lifts and all sometimes they had some issues, but it's okay. And this happened at least 3 times. Now
Okay.
the third time, mothers have an instinct. Mothers have an instinct for when their child is sick and when not sick. And the third time it happened, I remember my mom said, you know what, even if we are late, we are going to school. And I really said, no, 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 we are not going to school. We are not going to school. I'm not well. I'm not well. Because she said, you're only not well on the days when maths is your first period. On all other days, you are well when maths is your later period, because you cannot escape now. No? Once you're in school, you have to attend it. So you're, so you are going to school. And I remember we had to find an auto. Our school was in Lodi Road, in Lodi Road. And home was, I think, Kasturba Gandhi Marg or somewhere close by there. And that time in the morning, you couldn't get, auto rickshaw drivers would just charge whatever they wanted to charge. And it was a big challenge. No meter, no meter at all. You have to negotiate with them. But that is definitely drawn from my own this thing.
Experience.
And the other thing which is definitely drawn from my own is the part where he draws on the wall. That's also because I used to like to draw and write. I used to like to write a lot. I was a compulsive writer. So I found a wall like a very good place because I thought this is the biggest piece of paper you can have. So I would really write a lot. And we were in Germany at that time, and Germany is a country where they have a phrase alles in ordnung, which is basically like everything in order. And some Indian child writing on the wall was not okay as per them. So my parents really had to wash everything that I drew on the wall. So these two
My
are, there are
God.
other things, but I won't go into that. That will have to discuss.
Lovely. I mean, beautiful. I mean, I know the first incident very much. Yes, getting stomach ache and then parents discovering that actually maths is the reason why the child doesn't want to go to school. Lovely. Now, can we have a little bit of reading from your book? I think all the viewers would love that.
Sure. I will be reading page. Yeah. I'll be reading from page 135,
Hmm.
and this is chapter number, I'll tell you, 11, Ratnapur,
Okay. Hmm.
page 135.
Hmm.
And this is basically when the cinnamon, his father, his mother are all in the Ratnapur town. They are going to meet, and I'm reading out a few pages. So this is how it goes. Right. Baba nodded in acknowledgement. Did you notice how quickly they served us food? I always like good home cooked food, especially after a long journey, said Baba appreciative. What good home cooked food? They must have brought it from some nearby restaurant and just heated it up. Snapped Ma. Nobody put so much garam masala at home. Catching Devendra's impish smile in the rear view mirror of the car, Cinnamon guessed Ma was right. Whatever it was very tasty. No doubt, observed Baba diplomatically. And what about employing somebody so young? It's against the law. No doubt about that either, Ma retorted again. She added, I hope at least we have a pleasant experience in the hotel. It's a good hotel, auntie. I have stayed there. Whoever comes to Reshama sir stays there only, said Devendra reassuringly. Don't call me auntie, exclaimed Ma as some of her old bounce returned. Cinnamon felt glad that his mother hadn't lost her spirit completely. Nobody said anything after that. After reaching the hotel, Baba and Ma changed their clothes and slept off quickly. In the night, Cinnamon, Baba, and Ma went for a long walk around the small town. They saw young boys on huge, expensive motorcycles whizzing down the roads and roadside stalls with bright white flare lights selling khichdi, pav bhaji, noodles, spicy pulao. They stopped at the very grandly titled Jai Maharashtra Shezwan Chinese Noodle Center and had khichdi while standing. Ma also had chicken noodles. Cinnamon got goosebumps because for the first time he saw his own features in so many faces around him. He also realized from all the conversations around him that there was a babel of tongues. Every time he spoke to a vendor, he got a reply in a different language that included Bhilli, Auri, Mauchi, Kokani, along, of course, with Marathi, Hindi, and Gujarati. He overheard somebody telling a vendor that Ratnapur is a town where important things happened. He chortled a little. This is such a small place. Ma, imagine living here, Cinnamon said. Ma looked at him with her head cocked. Baba gulped down his khichdi, didn't say anything. Khoka, she said, using the Bengali greeting. Do you think it would be very different from living in Pune? Asked Ma curiously. Of course, it would be so different. You would probably end up saying hi to the same person 20 times, replied Cinnamon contemptuously. Ma said, Cinnamon, when I was your age and even older to you, I used to dream of traveling and living in different cities in India and across the world. The idea sounded so glamorous. So, as a child, I loved visiting our relatives in Delhi and Hyderabad. I even went to Pune for college education. I worked in Bangalore. I did my master's in the USA. I enjoyed all the freedom and all the wonderful, crazy experiences. But something I read in a book once, which I eventually realized is true. Over time, whoever you are and wherever you end up with a small group of people anyway, which is similar to living in a small village. Your friends, your family, your husband or wife, your office colleagues, your college or schoolmates, your neighbors, people you meet on the commute to and from your work, that's everybody's village. If you have all these good people around you, isn't that all you need in life? Cinnamon disagreed, but didn't want to express it at that moment. They walked back to the hotel, companionable silence. Ma softly sang one of her favorite Bengali songs to herself, which she usually sang only when she was deep in thought. Cinnamon knew it very well. The song was Purane Shei Diner Uthai, which means remember the bygone era or stories of the bygone. So this is a few pages, page 133 to 136 from My Name is Cinnamon, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Very much, very much, very much. And this is the book, viewers. So please go out. It's available on Amazon. It's available on eBay, as Vikas said, and it is available in bookstores close to you. So please go out, get this book. It's really, really worth it, worth your time. Please do that. And Vikas, apparently you have another, event or another appointment or something that is going to happen very soon.
Yeah.
So though we would love to keep on listening to you, because this has been so delightful and also at the same time so knowledgeable. There were a lot of things you said that we don't know about. So it was really interesting to have you on Bistro Bus. So thank you so much, Vikas, and thank you so much,
Sure.
viewers, for being with us. We'll see you again in the next Bistro Bus. So, Vikas, thank you again. A good evening
Welcome,
to you.
and also wonderful to be on this show and interact with you and interact with all the wonderful viewers as well.
Thank you so much, Vikas.